WAEC and NECO examinations has been made easy by the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education with the Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO Candidates television program. Join seasoned teachers as they take you through these core subjects: mathematics, English language, physics, chemistry, and biology, targeting the exact syllabus of WAEC and NECO. Watch Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates on this station. Learners can also connect with Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates through these social media platforms to access more educational content and give their feedback. Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. Pass your examinations with flying colors.
Welcome to today's lesson. It's a very beautiful day to be alive. My name is Mr. Babajide Olarinwaju Afalayan, and you are welcome to Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. In today's lesson, we are going to be looking at some challenges students face when writing external examination. And one of these challenges that students face is the issue of right spellings. Some students use the American style of spelling when writing, while others use the British style of spelling when also writing. Which is correct? We shall be learning that today, and I believe we are going to learn a lot from today's lesson. Come along with me as we go straight into today's lesson.
Eko Learners Support, a support program of the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education for WAEC and NECO candidates. Today, we'll be looking at words commonly spelled wrongly in English language, but this time around, we are going to be looking at the British and American English. I know many of us, because we take time to watch movies that are done by Americans or by Britons, we end up trying to use their language in our daily expression. But I want to bring our knowledge to this. As students writing the West African School Certificate Examination, it is important for you to know that your English will be based on what we call the received pronunciation. That is the British English. So you need to be very careful when you decide to choose which of the spellings to make a choice when writing in examination. It's important for us to know that in Nigeria we use the British English. So you need to get yourself accustomed with the right way of spelling when it comes to using the received pronunciation, which is the British English. The learning objectives for today's lesson. At the end of today's lesson, students will be able to do the following. Number 1, discuss the difference between the British and American English. Number 2, differentiate between their spellings. And 3, compare words used in the British and American English. The question is, what are the differences between the British and American English? Well, the main difference between the British and American English would first be in the pronunciation. Also, we have the difference in the vocabulary and also in their use of grammar. Here are some of the most common differences between the British and American English. Let's look at the vocabulary. When we talk about vocabulary, we find out that there are hundreds of everyday words that are different. For example, the Brits, which we call the British, will call the front of their car a bonnet, while the Americans will call it hood. And many of us are used to calling it hood rather than bonnet. Also, we find out that when we wear the undergarment we wear for our legs, which is our stockings, well, American calls their socks. The British call theirs stockings. But sometimes the use of socks and stockings varies because stocking is a form of garment you wear on your leg which is longer than the socks. So we need to know the right use of these words. Americans go on vacation while British go on holidays or alls. So we have also a few differences in the way they use their grammar. For example, the present perfect and the simple past tense are used differently in the British and American English. A few differences in the way they use their grammar. For example, the present perfect and their past simple tense are used differently in the British and American English. But today, our main focus is the spellings. How do the British spell and how do the Americans spell? So we are going to be looking at some of these words so that our students writing the West African School Senior Certificate Examination, we will be able to adjust our spelling to suit what the examiners want. Let's start off with the British English words. The British English words always end in OUR, while the Americans usually end with OR. OR. For example, let's look at it. We have the British here, we have the US here. We have the word color. The word color is spelled OUR when you use the British English and OR when you are using the American English. We have the word flavor. Flavor is spelled OUR with the British, while the Americans spell theirs with OR. We have the same for humor, labor, and neighbor. We can see this on the screen. Verbs in British English that end in YSE are always spelled with YZE in the American English. For example, let's look at the following word: analyze. Analyze. For the British, it is pronounced analyze and spelled with YSE, while for the Americans, it is pronounced analyze and it is spelled with the YZE. The same goes for apologize, idolize, paralyze, and catalyze. When you use these spellings, then you are writing the American way of spelling. Be very careful not to mix it up. But sometimes when we write, because of the fact that it is English, there is this tolerance that's been given when the American spelling is used sometimes. Let's move on. In the British spelling, L is doubled, while in verbs ending, while in a vowel plus. But in American English, the L is not always doubled. For example, let's look at this trend. We have in the British English, you have travel, you have the same for the American spelling. But when you are looking at the past tense, you notice the British would have two L's, traveled, while the Americans will have what? Just one L. The same for traveling for the British, two L's, while the American one, and the same for travelers. So please let's note this. We should also note that British words that are spelled with double vowels, like A, O, E, tend to be just spelled with an E in American English, although there are exceptions to this rule. For example, if you look at the word archaeology, it's spelled the same way in both the British and American way of spelling. But archaeology, this same way, will be acceptable in America, but it is incorrect when used in the British spelling. Let's look at the following. Look at this word, leukemia. Leukemia is spelled with A-E for the British, while for the American, it is spelled with the E. Look at the word maneuver. Maneuver is spelled O with the O-E, while the American spells with just the E. We have the word estrogen, while the American will spell theirs without the O, but with just the E. And we have the word pediatric, while the Americans spell theirs without the A, while the British will have the A in theirs. Let's look at other examples. Some nouns that end with E-N-C-E in British English are spelled with E-N-C-E, while in the American English it is spelled E-N-S-E. For example, let's look at the word defense. The British will spell theirs with E-N-C-E. The American will spell theirs with E-N-S-E. The word license. Americans spell theirs with S-E, while the British will spell theirs with C-E. The same with the word offense. C-E for the British, S-E for the Americans. The word pretense. N-C-E for the British, while N-S-E for the Americans. What about words that end with O-G-U-E in the British English? For the Americans, it will not end with O-G-U-E, rather it will end with O-G, or sometimes they follow the variant of the British that ends with the O-G-U-E. For example, we have the word analog. The Americans spell theirs without the U-E or with the U-E. The British will spell theirs with the U-E, that is a catalog, while the Americans will be without it or either with it. Then we also have dialogue, which will be spelled with the UE, and the Americans will spell theirs without the UE or with the UE. The same for their program. When you spell program, the British will spell theirs with program will spell P-R-O-G-R-A-M-M-E, while the Americans will spell theirs with P-R-O-G-R-A-M. Let's look at some other words that are spelled differently when spelled in the British English and in American English. For example, all right, you can either the British will spell theirs with the two L's, while the Americans spell theirs either with the two L's. You can see that there are two separate words, or you spell it like this, all right. Analyze. You can see S-E for the British, Z-E for the American. Center. Center. When you spell center, it is either for the British, it is with R-E. For the Americans, it is with E-R. You have the word check. Check. For the Americans, they usually spell it the same way we would spell when you check something. They spell it that way. We've talked about color. And look at the word counselor. The counselor, for Americans, it is spelled with just one L, and for the British, it's spelled with two L's. Other examples, we have criticize, which sometimes the British can also spell with Z-E, but the Americans spell theirs with Z-E. We have defense, which we've done before. We have donut. The British spell their donuts with D-O-U-G-H-N-U-T, while the Americans spell theirs D-O-N-U-T. We have in flavor. We also have it in fiber. Can you see the spelling of fiber? The Americans spell theirs with E-R. The British spell theirs R-E. Then we have flavor and flavor. It's time for our practice questions. Today's practice questions would have the following instructions. If the words in bold, that is the word in different color that are in italics, is in British spelling, please choose British. But if it is in American spelling, I want you to choose American. Let's do that very quickly. We have 30 seconds to do that. Okay, let's dive into the answers. The first word here in italics and in bold is the word humor. Is this British or American? Have you done that at home? Okay, it is what? It is, American. Someone thought I wanted to say British. It's American because it does not end with O-U-R, rather it ends with O-R. Americans spell their humor with O-R. The next one, criticize. Is it British or American? Yes, it is British. It is British. The American spells theirs with Z, the Z letter. The next word, in the word they called killing their daughter an honor. This honor is spelled H-O-N-O-R. Is it British or American? Yes, it is American. The British spell their honor with O-U-R. The next one, we need someone who is good at analyzing financial data. The word is analyzing. Analyzing, is it British or American? Yes, it is what? British. The next question, that jewelry store in the mall was just raw jewelry. Is this British or American? You can guess. Oh, don't guess. You should know it. Yes, it is American. The British spell their jewelry with 2 L's. The next one, most junk mail is marketing leaflets and catalogs. The catalog here is it British or American? Catalog? Yes, it is American. And finally, don't think so much. Learn to savor the moment instead. The word savor, is it British or American? Right, it is British. I believe that you have learned a lot in today's lesson. You can go through your dictionary to identify words that are from British origin or that have British spelling and that which are American origin or that have American spellings. I believe with this, it will help you minimize your spelling errors.
Eko Learners Support, a support program of the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education for WAEC and NECO candidates.
For feedback, questions, and comment, you can contact us on the social media handle displayed on the screen. It has been your favorite English language teacher, Mr. Babajide, and I'll see you next time. Have a wonderful day.
Acing your WAEC and NECO examinations has been made easy by the Lagos State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education with the Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO Candidates television program. Join seasoned teachers as they take you through these core subjects: mathematics, English language, physics, chemistry, and biology, targeting the exact syllabus of WAEC and NECO. Watch Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates on this station. Learners can also connect with Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates through these social media platforms to access more educational content and give their feedback. Eko Learners Support for WAEC and NECO candidates. Pass your examinations with flying colors.